In this video, I'll be demonstrating the Icord Cast On and the beginning of Stephen West's Exploration Station shawl. For best results, I prefer to do a crochet provisional cast on for the first 3 stitches, and so I'll be demonstrating that method. So for a crochet provisional cast on, you'll need a crochet hook and a little bit of scrap yarn. You're only doing 3 cast on stitches, so you don't need a lot. So make a slip knot. Put it on a crochet hook that's sort of a similar size. So this isn't the kind of yarn that I would use for the pattern, I'm just using larger yarn to demonstrate. So I've got 6mm needles and this is a 5mm crochet hook, so just something roughly similar. And then I'm using double pointed needles to start with, just because it's a little bit easier to start the cast on, because you instead of slipping the stitches back to the left needle, you can actually just slide them to the other end. I'll show you when I get there. So for the crochet provisional cast on, you have the crochet hook with a slip knot on it, and then you put your needle that you're going to be using, and you put it over the yarn, and you put the crochet hook over and grab and pull through the loop, and then move that yarn underneath. So that's 1, and repeat that. Crochet hook over, grab the yarn, pull through, and then put the yarn behind. 1 more time. Now I'm actually going to do a couple more, let's say just 2 more, and then pull through, and then I'll slip those last two off that I don't need, but that tells me where I need to unravel from. Right, so I'm finished with my crochet hook now, and I'm ready to start. So I've got my working yarn. This would be the yarn that I'd actually be using for the shawl. Now the pattern says to knit 5 rows, but because I've done a provisional cast on, so this row doesn't count, I actually need to do 6 rows. So feel free to move ahead. I'll put a little time stamp. So I'm just going to knit 1 row, and the pattern would have you move them back to this needle, but because I'm using double points, I get to just slide them to the other end. And it's the same thing. So that's my first row. 2, right, so I need to do a total of 6. 3. You see how much quicker it is to just slide them up. 4. 5. And 6. So now I need to pick up 3 stitches along this I-cord edge, and then I'll be picking up 3 across the provisional cast on. So you don't want to take this one that's right directly underneath. You want to go, and so I'm just tilting my work so you can see the loops. Not this one that's directly underneath the needle, but 1, 2, 3, and then the last one is where we're attached to the provisional cast on. So I can just pop that needle down for a minute. So not this one that's directly under the needle, but the one below it, and I'll go under both legs, wrap the yarn around and pull through. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Now I need to get these 3 onto the other needle and then pop them on to this needle. So I'm just going to show you here. You can see where the tail's coming out. You see that that's the stitch there, and I'm just going to get the right leg. So I've got this one, and then this one here. So I just want the right leg. The first one is actually going to be quite loose, because it's just attached to the tail, so you'll have to be a little bit careful with that one. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then now I need to unpick this cast on, And when I do it, I'll have to be quite careful not to lose this loop because it's just hanging over the needle. Okay, so this should unravel pretty easily now if I've got it at the right spot. Just pull it out. This yarn's, I've done this a few times and the yarn's a little bit hairy, so it doesn't actually, it's sort of trying to grab onto itself. There we go. So that issue was just because the yarn's been knit a couple of times. Okay, so can you see here I've got 1, 2, 3, and this last one is just a strand hanging over the edge. So I'm going to turn it around here. Now these 3 need to go onto this needle, but because of the way the Icord tab cast on is and I want to create that nice smooth edge, I need to rotate this. Don't lose that one on the end. Rotate it. See how I've got that? Like that. And then I need to put these 3 onto this needle. But I need to also make sure that this working yarn is on this side. So I'm going to bring that forward. That tail, see how that one's just that one loose one there? And I'm going to move those onto my right needle, all 3, and this will retain that nice edge. Right, so this is, I'm going to turn the work now. This is the wrong side, and here's the working yarn at the back, and I'm ready to go. So this is the wrong side, that's why I've got the tail here on this side. And so in Stephen's pattern it says next row wrong side, knit 3 cast on stitches, which are these 3 here. Then we're going to knit 3 and then slip 3 with yarn in front. Now I'm not giving away any secret sauce because Stephen's already done a video on this. So I'm just going to do this next row and then row 1 and row 2. Right, so it's knit the 3 cast on stitches. Right, there's that tail. Knit 3. And then slip 3 with yarn in front. So I'll move the yarn to the front and slip the next 3. Okay, so that's the cast on and we're ready to go with row 1 right side. And you'll see that we've got a nice smooth I-cord. And I'll do the next 2 rows and then I think that should be enough hopefully for setting up for the pattern. So the first row says knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you yarn over twice, knit 1, and then you do that twice. So yarn over twice, knit 1, and you do that again. Yarn over twice, knit 1, and then bring the yarn to the front and slip 3 stitches. Now in row 2, which is a wrong side row, we knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got this double yarn over here, and we want to knit 1 and purl 1 into that. So we knit 1, drop the first loop off, but keep the second loop, bring the yarn to the front, purl 1, and then take that last loop off, and then knit 1. And we repeat that. So we've got another double yarn over, knit into the first yarn over, bring the yarn to the front, purl into the second yarn over, and take that off, and then knit 1, and then slip 3 with the yarn in front. So we bring the yarn to the front, and then slip the next 3. Okay, we're back to the right side. So row 3 is knit 10, slip on with the yarn, 3 with the yarn in front, and then row 4 the same, and the pattern continues from there. But I just wanted to get people started, and you can see that edging, that it's seamless and there's no sort of bars over it or loops or anything. So that's the method that I'm plan to use for starting my exploration station shawl, and I'll be using much smaller needles and yarn, but I wanted to do one this size, so hopefully you found that helpful.